The chamber of the Galactic Council was built to intimidate. Its walls stretched higher than any cathedral on Earth, lined with glowing banners of a dozen powerful alien empires. At the center, a circular table of black crystal reflected the light of holographic stars. From here, the destiny of entire species was decided. Today, Earth appeared in the center of that table. A bright blue sphere turning slowly, oceans glittering under a sun that was watched from millions of light years away. The humans were new to the council, new, small, untested. Many aliens sneered at the sight of their homeworld. To them, Earth was a child among giants. The council speaker, a towering creature of silver scales and 6 eyes, raised his staff and spoke in a deep, echoing voice. Humanity, you have entered the galaxy. By law, you must submit your tribute. Energy, soldiers, and resources every cycle. Refusal will mean your destruction. Silence filled the chamber. Thousands of alien eyes turned to the hologram of Earth. Behind the speaker, fleets of alien ships floated in the void. Carriers longer than cities. Cruisers with guns that could vaporize mountains. Their shadows stretched over Earth's orbit, a constant reminder of the threat. The other alien species whispered among themselves, "They will kneel. All new races kneel. Humans are fragile. They cannot resist the tribute command. Perhaps they will even thank us for sparing their planet." The council had done this many times before. Conquer a new species, take their resources, break their pride. It was routine. It was tradition, but humanity was not routine. On Earth, leaders and generals stood in a bunker buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. A massive screen showed the same council chamber. The demand echoed through their speakers again. Tribute or annihilation. The politicians were pale. Some whispered about negotiation. Some begged for peace. Others argued for delay. But the military stood silent, their eyes locked on the alien fleets above their world. General Marcus Hale, commander of Earth's defense forces, clenched his fists until his knuckles turned white. He had seen the footage of alien fleets wiping out other civilizations. He knew what tribute meant: slavery, broken generations. "A slow death, sir," one advisor whispered. "We cannot fight them. Look at their ships. Look at their weapons." General Hale turned to him. His voice was calm but sharp as steel. "If we kneel now, Earth will never rise again." The room fell into silence. Every human there understood. The council was not offering survival. They were offering chains. Humanity had to choose, slavery or resistance. The countdown had already begun. Above Earth, alien dreadnoughts powered their weapons. Even from the ground, people could see them in the sky. Giant shapes like floating mountains, blotting out the stars. Cities paused. Children stared upward. Soldiers gripped their rifles. The entire planet was holding its breath. Back in the council chamber, the speaker raised his staff again. His voice thundered, "Humanity, you will answer now. Kneel and live. Refuse and be erased." For a long moment, nothing happened. Just silence, stretching longer and longer, as if Earth itself was frozen. Then the hologram shifted. It was no longer Earth. A human appeared instead. A single figure in a dark uniform, standing tall, eyes blazing with defiance. The chamber went quiet. Alien hearts pounded. General Hale's voice cut through the air. "Council of Tyrants, you ask for tribute. You will receive none. Humanity does not kneel. Humanity does not bow. If you want our submission, come and take it." The words echoed like a thunderclap. The alien delegates froze. Shock spread across their faces. Some hissed in rage. Some muttered in disbelief. Others looked genuinely afraid. No species had ever dared refuse so openly. The speaker slammed his staff against the ground. "Human, you speak with arrogance. You cannot stand against the council." General Hale's image leaned closer. His voice lowered, sharper than a blade. "Then you will learn what it means to face us. You will learn what it means to face humanity." The hologram vanished. Only Earth remained, turning silently in the center of the chamber. The council erupted into chaos. Some demanded immediate extermination. Others argued that humanity was bluffing. Spies were ordered to dig into human technology. Fleets were moved closer to Earth, but none could shake the echo of those words. Humanity does not kneel. On Earth, the order had already gone out. Hidden launch sites opened. Massive silos cracked apart. The ground shook as engines ignited. One by one, ships that had never been revealed to the galaxy rose into the sky. These were not fragile transports or outdated relics. These were warships, human warships, built in secret, armed with weapons designed not for surrender, but for survival. The people of Earth looked up as the skies filled with their own giants. Gleaming hulls, engines burning bright, ships climbing higher and higher to meet the alien fleets above. The first interstellar fleet of humanity had awakened, and in the council chamber, the speaker stared in disbelief. His 6 eyes widened as reports flooded in. Human warships were leaving Earth, not 1, not 10, but an entire fleet. The silence returned, but this time it was not the silence of fear. It was the silence of shock. For the first time in countless ages, the Galactic Council had met a species that refused. The first tribute command ever defied had been answered, and the galaxy would never be the same. The galaxy had expected silence. It had expected fear. It had expected the small blue world to tremble, kneel, and obey. But instead, Earth answered with defiance. From orbiting spy drones, the alien council watched in disbelief. Across Earth's continents, colossal doors opened in deserts, mountains, and oceans. Hidden silos buried for decades cracked apart with thunder. One after another, gigantic human warships rose into the sky, their engines blazing trails of fire through the atmosphere. They were not like the alien designs, curved, polished, adorned with banners of empire. Human ships were brutal, angular machines of steel and fury. Their hulls were scarred with armor plating. Their cannons were oversized and ugly. But they were powerful. They were built to kill. Billions of people on Earth looked up, their hearts pounding as the sky filled with their guardians. Soldiers saluted. Families wept with pride. Children pointed to the heavens, whispering, "Those are ours." The first human fleet was no longer a secret. The galaxy could now see humanity's hidden hand. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, chaos erupted. Alien delegates shouted over each other, "This is impossible! How could primitives build this? They must have stolen the technology." But spies had already confirmed the truth. Humanity had built these ships on its own. No outside empire had given them aid. No one had suspected that the new species was capable of such industry, such secrecy, and yet, here they were. At the head of this rising armada stood the flagship Resolute, a behemoth forged in Earth's orbit under the shadow of secrecy. On its command bridge, General Marcus Hale stood before a wide viewport. Before him, the planet glowed below like a jewel, and above it alien warships hung like vultures. "Signal the fleet," Hale said. His voice was calm, steady. "Form the wall. Let them see what defiance looks like." A dozen human cruisers shifted into formation. Destroyers darted between them, smaller and faster, like wolves guarding titans. Gun batteries aligned, missile tubes hissed open, railguns powered up. Humanity's first warfleet moved as one. The alien fleet stirred. Their commander, a reptilian admiral named Serith, bared his fangs in disbelief. "They dare to challenge us? They think these machines can stand against the Council." His claws scraped the armrest of his throne. "Then they will be the first to die." He raised his hand. 1,000 alien ships shifted into attack position. Dreadnoughts armed their heavy cannons. Cruisers activated shields that shimmered like storms of light. Fighters poured from hangars, swarming like locusts in the void. Earth was now caught between two skies. Beneath it, the blue oceans and green continents of home. Above it, two fleets, the ancient and arrogant Council Armada and the newborn defiant fleet of humanity. The battle could begin at any moment. On Earth's surface, alarms rang across cities. Soldiers marched into armored transports. Anti-orbit railguns hidden in mountains rotated skyward. The world was bracing for impact, but the people did not feel despair. They felt something else, something rare, hope. For the first time in history, humanity stood united. Not as nations, but as one species. Against the darkness above, they stood together. Back in the council chamber, the Speaker of the Council struck the floor with his staff. His 6 eyes burned with fury. Enough. Humanity has defied us. Their fleets must be destroyed before their example spreads. One delegate, a frail insectoid scholar, raised a trembling hand. Speaker, what if they are stronger than they appear? The chamber erupted in laughter and outrage. The council had never feared before. No young race had ever stood against them and lived. Why should this be different? The speaker growled. Then we will remind them of their place. Admiral Sereth, strike immediately. Burn their ships. Burn their world if you must. The order was given. The galaxy held its breath. Out near Jupiter, space rippled with sudden bursts of light. Alien cruisers warped into position, encircling the human fleet. Energy beams lit up the darkness, preparing to fire. On the Resolute's bridge, alarms screamed. Officers shouted updates. Screens flashed red. Multiple warp signatures detected. They're surrounding us. We are outnumbered 20-1. General Hale stood unmoving. His eyes scanned the incoming swarm of alien ships. His jaw tightened. At last he gave the order. Transmit to all ships. Formation Omega. Show them who we are. The crew moved with precision. Engines roared, guns swiveled, shields flared alive. Humanity's fleet spread into a wall of steel and fire, each ship protecting the other, each one ready to fight until its last breath. For a moment, there was silence. The void between the fleets hung heavy, like the air before a storm. Then, the alien commander raised his claw. Fire. The darkness lit up with fury. Beams of energy lanced across space. Missiles streaked like falling stars. Dozens of alien warships surged forward in a tide of fire. The first clash had begun, and humanity's survival would be. Written in the flames of battle, the void above Jupiter became a storm of fire. Alien dreadnoughts unleashed beams of energy that burned like suns. Human shields flared as the first volley slammed into them. Destroyers shuddered under the force, their hulls glowing red from the impact. Missiles shrieked across the darkness, leaving blazing trails that cut through the void like comets. Humanity's first space war had begun. On the bridge of the flagship Resolute, alarms blared. Crew members shouted over the chaos, voices sharp, hands flying across consoles. Shields at 60%. Enemy fighters closing fast. Railgun batteries charging. General Marcus Hale stood tall at the center, his eyes locked on the holographic display of the battlefield. Red blips, alien warships, swarmed like a tide. Blue blips, human ships, stood in tight formation, refusing to break. Hold the line, Hale commanded. His voice cut through the noise, steady and iron-strong. Do not give them an inch. The order rippled through the fleet. Human destroyers darted forward, unleashing clouds of automated drones. The drones were small, ugly machines, no larger than cars, but they moved with terrifying speed. They hurled themselves at enemy fighters, detonating on impact in bursts of shrapnel and fire. Alien pilots screamed as their sleek ships tore apart under the relentless swarm. From the moons of Jupiter, hidden railgun platforms powered up. Buried deep under ice and rock, these colossal cannons had been waiting for this very day. They fired at once, each shot a tungsten spear traveling faster than sound in the void. The rounds punched through alien cruisers, tearing them open like paper. The Council's Admiral, Sereth, hissed in fury aboard his command ship. He had thought the humans would scatter, that their fleet would collapse in panic. Instead, they fought like predators. They bled, but they struck back harder. Push forward, he roared. Crush them before they regroup. Alien dreadnoughts advanced, their shields blazing with power. Their guns tore through a human destroyer, splitting it in half. The crew inside never even had time to scream. Pieces of burning metal scattered across the battlefield, but humanity did not falter. Target their flagship, General Hale ordered. All ships concentrate fire. The Resolute's railguns thundered, launching hypervelocity slugs across the void. Human cruisers unleashed volleys of nuclear-tipped missiles. their trails glowing white as they closed in on the massive alien command ship. The first wave of missiles slammed into the flagship's shields. The explosion lit up the darkness, a miniature sun flaring in the void. The second wave followed, piercing the weakening barrier. Then came the railgun fire, hammering into the alien dreadnought's hull, tearing gashes through its armor. Alarms screamed on Admiral Sereth's bridge. His crew shouted in panic as the great ship shuddered under the storm of human fire. "This cannot be," he roared, claws digging into his chair. "They are primitives. They cannot." But they could, and they did. Human soldiers fought not only with weapons, but with desperation. They had no second home, no other planet to flee to. Earth was behind them. Their families were behind them. There was no retreat. One by one, human ships sacrificed themselves. A frigate crippled by enemy fire rammed into an alien cruiser, detonating its reactors in a blinding flash. A squadron of human fighters, outnumbered 10 to 1, dove straight into the swarm of alien craft, tearing open gaps for missiles to slip through. Every death was a strike. Every loss was a wound carved into the enemy. And then the moment came. The Resolute's main railgun fired, a shot heavier and faster than any before. It pierced through the alien flagship's failing shields, tore through its bridge, and split the massive vessel in two. The explosion lit up the void. The alien flagship, the pride of the Council fleet, shattered into burning wreckage. For a heartbeat, the battlefield froze. Both sides stared in disbelief. A human fleet, new, untested, unproven, had destroyed the flagship of the Galactic Council. On Earth, billions watched the live feed. Cities erupted in cheers. Soldiers roared from their trenches. Children clung to their parents with wide eyes. For the first time, humanity had struck down a god, but victory came at a cost. Human ships burned. Wreckage floated in every direction. Thousands of lives were already lost. General Hale stood silent, his fists clenched. The flagship was gone, but the battle was far from over. The alien fleet still outnumbered them 20 to 1. The Council would not forgive. They would not retreat. On the surviving alien ships, panic turned to rage. Admiral Sereth, blood dripping from his wounds, activated a private channel to the Council. His voice was hoarse, filled with hate. Humans must not be allowed to rise. "Send the Leviathan! Erase their world." The Council chamber fell silent as his words reached them. Faces turned pale. Eyes widened. Whispers filled the air. The Leviathan. A weapon so powerful it was never meant to be used. A ship so massive it blotted out the stars. And now it was coming for Earth. The Galactic Council chamber shook with chaos. Alien delegates shouted across the crystal floor, their voices sharp with panic and fear. The holographic image of the destroyed flagship still flickered above them, a broken husk floating in fire. For the first time in centuries, a Council warship, an unbeaten dreadnought, lay shattered in battle. Whispers spread like wildfire. The humans destroyed it. Impossible. A new species cannot defeat us. They have weapons we do not understand. Perhaps we are not invincible. The speaker slammed his staff on the floor. His silver-scaled body trembled with fury, and his 6 eyes burned. Silence. The Council does not fear primitives. But his words did not calm the chamber. They only made the fear louder. Some delegates leaned close together, their voices low and trembling. If humans can resist, why not us? They have no empire, yet they fight the Council itself. They might be the example we have been waiting for. The whispers grew bolder. The Council could sense it, the seed of rebellion taking root. For ages the Council had ruled through fear. Their fleets crushed resistance before it began. But now a single world, one small species, had defied them and struck down their pride. If the galaxy learned that the Council could bleed, the Council could fall. The speaker turned to Admiral Sereth's broken image on the comm screen. The reptilian commander was bloodied, half his bridge destroyed, but his eyes still burned with hate. "Admiral," the speaker demanded. "Report," Sereth hissed, his voice raw. "The human fleet fights with desperation. They are unrelenting, ruthless. They sacrifice ships like weapons, hurling them into our cruisers. They use tactics we have never seen, drones that swarm, hidden railguns on moons, nuclear missiles that strike in waves. And he paused, his jaw tightening. They destroyed my flagship. A ripple of gasps spread through the chamber again. Delegates shifted nervously. Some hid their faces, as if the words themselves were too dangerous to hear. Sereth's claws dug into his console. Humans must not survive. Their defiance spreads like fire. If they live, the Council will face uprisings across the stars. We cannot allow that. There is only one answer. Send the Leviathan. The chamber fell into silence. Every delegate froze. Even the speaker lowered his staff slowly, his scales pale. The Leviathan. The name itself was forbidden. It was a weapon the Council swore never to use. A warship the size of a small moon, built in secret centuries ago, hidden away in the dark of uncharted space. Its power was so great that even the Council feared it. Whole civilizations could be erased with its guns. One insectoid delegate hissed in horror, "You cannot mean this. To summon the Leviathan is to break every treaty. It will terrify the galaxy. We will look like monsters." Another, a serpentine diplomat, slammed his tail against the floor. "We already look like monsters. If humanity survives, every species will rise against us. Better to rule through fear than to fall into chaos." Arguments exploded again. Some demanded the Leviathan be used at once. Others begged for restraint. The chamber shook with the sound of alien voices, none willing to give ground. At last, the speaker raised his staff again. His voice cracked like thunder. "Enough! Humanity has forced our hand. We did not wish to use this weapon, but they leave us no choice. The Leviathan will rise." The words echoed like a death sentence, far across the galaxy. In a forgotten system cloaked in silence, a giant stirred. The Leviathan hung in the void, its hull blacker than space, its size dwarfing every known ship. Thousands of gun ports lined its body. Its engines glowed with the light of captured stars. The creature of steel had slept for centuries, but now it awakened, systems powered on, cannons charged, crewless drones activated in their millions. A deep vibration rumbled through the void, like the heartbeat of a god. The Leviathan turned, its shadow blotting out the stars behind it. Its course was set. Destination, Earth. Back in the council chamber, fear lingered under the surface. The speaker's words were strong, but the delegates' faces told the truth. They had unleashed a monster that even they did not fully control. And across the stars, whispers grew louder. Humans defeated a flagship. Humans resisted the tribute. Maybe they are the ones we have been waiting for. For the first time in history, species long oppressed by the Council dared to dream of freedom. On Earth, humanity celebrated their first victory, but their cheers would not last long. Deep space scanners trembled with readings they could not explain. Something vast was moving in the darkness, something too large to measure, too powerful to name. General Hale stood in the command center of the Resolute, staring at the shifting signals. His gut tightened. "What is it?" One officer asked, her voice shaking. Hale did not answer. His eyes narrowed at the impossible readings. At last, he spoke only one word: Leviathan. In the silence of deep space, the Leviathan awakened. For centuries it had drifted in darkness, hidden in a dead system where no stars shone. Its body was so vast it looked like a black moon, its surface covered in thousands of weapon ports, hangars, and towers. It was not a ship. It was a moving fortress, a city of war. Engines the size of mountains roared to life. The void shook as the Leviathan turned. Light flared from its thrusters, brighter than suns. Slowly, deliberately, it began its journey. Destination, Earth. Across the galaxy, whispers spread faster than light. Word of the Leviathan's awakening traveled through smugglers, spies, and broken channels. Entire worlds trembled at the name. On a mining colony in the Rim, workers paused at their machines. One whispered, "The Council has awakened the monster." On a conquered world, rebels hiding in caves cheered. If they must use the Leviathan, then humans must be stronger than we ever dreamed. On neutral planets, traders argued in panic. If the Leviathan moves, entire systems will burn. The galaxy was watching, and all eyes turned to Earth. On the flagship Resolute, General Marcus Hale stood in the command center, staring at the new readings. The Leviathan signal had been confirmed. Its size was beyond imagination. Its energy output dwarfed anything humanity had ever seen. "How big is it?" an officer whispered. The technician's voice cracked as he read the data. It's the size of a small moon." The crew fell silent. Some turned pale. Some simply froze, unable to breathe. General Hale's jaw tightened. "This is what they send when they fear us," he said coldly. "They want Earth erased. They want us erased." An officer whispered. "We cannot match that. Not with our fleet. Not with anything we have." Hale's eyes burned. "Then we find something they cannot match." At that moment, the doors opened, and Dr. Evelyn Carter, chief scientist of Earth's defense project, entered the command deck. Her lab coat was stained with grease and sleepless nights. She carried a small data pad pressed against her chest. "We knew this day might come," she said quietly. "The solar spear is ready." The room turned toward her in shock. The solar spear. The secret project whispered about in corners of bunkers, hidden from even most of Earth's leaders. General Hale's eyes narrowed. "You mean the weapon in Earth's core?" Dr. Carter nodded. "Yes, we built it beneath the crust. We used the planet itself as its casing. It was never meant to be revealed unless there was no other choice." A silence hung in the air. Everyone knew what it meant. To use the solar spear was to risk everything. If it failed, Earth itself could fracture. Hale's voice was steady. "Then we have no choice. Begin preparations." Meanwhile, the Leviathan moved closer. Alien engineers activated its main cannon, a colossal barrel stretching miles long across its belly. It was not a weapon designed for ships. It was a weapon designed for planets. Its blast could tear open a world's crust and reduce oceans to steam. Admiral Serith, bloodied but alive aboard his new command ship, watched the Leviathan on his display. His lips curled into a cruel smile. "Let the humans see what true power is. Let them know their defiance ends in fire." The Leviathan exited warp near Saturn, its shadow blotting out the rings. Its sheer size dwarfed even the gas giant's moons. Human satellites blinked out one by one as its jamming fields spread across the system. On Earth, people looked to the night sky. At first it was just a dark dot moving against the stars. But as it drew closer, it became a shape so massive that it blocked constellations. The world trembled at the sight. News spread across every channel. "The Leviathan has arrived." Children clung to their parents. Soldiers clenched their weapons tighter. Civilians flooded shelters. But through the fear, one feeling burned brighter than all: anger. Humanity had come too far to be erased now. On the Resolute, Hale watched the giant fill the view screen. His voice was calm, almost quiet. "Prepare all fleets. Ready the solar spear. This is not just survival. This is our answer." The Leviathan's cannons began to glow. Energy collected along its massive spine, building into a charge brighter than the sun. The crew of the Resolute stared in horror as the readings spiked. "They're targeting Earth," an officer cried. "Time to firing! 5 minutes!" Hale's hands tightened around the railing. He turned to Dr. Carter. "Is the solar spear ready?" Her voice shook. "Almost. We need more time." "Buy it," Hale ordered. "With blood, with fire, with everything we have." The Leviathan's weapon grew brighter, a blazing star in the darkness. Its first shot would not simply destroy cities. It would shatter Earth itself, and humanity had only minutes to stop it. The Leviathan was dying. The solar spear's blast had torn through its heart, leaving its hull split open like a wounded beast. Fires raged across its colossal body, spilling debris the size of cities into orbit. But even crippled, the monster was not finished. Its engines sputtered, then roared. The Leviathan began to fall, slowly at first, then faster, dragged by Earth's gravity. On the Resolute's bridge, alarms screamed. Officers shouted over the chaos, "It's breaking orbit!" Trajectory shows impact with Earth's atmosphere. Projected collision. North America! The crew went silent. If the Leviathan crashed into Earth, it would not be a strike, it would be extinction. General Marcus Hale's voice cut through the panic. Signal all ships, stop it, push it off course. The human fleet answered without hesitation. Destroyers ignited their engines, slamming into the Leviathan's side to slow its descent. Cruisers fired thrusters at full burn, forcing their massive hulls against the monster. One by one, human ships burned out their engines, sacrificing themselves in desperate maneuvers. But the Leviathan was too vast. It kept falling, a mountain of fire dragging Earth toward its doom. Not enough, an officer cried. We can't stop it. Hale's eyes narrowed. Then we bleed for every second. Every second counts. Above Earth, the sky turned red. Flames licked across the heavens as the Leviathan pierced the atmosphere. Shockwaves rippled through the clouds. Cities below watched in terror as the night sky burned. Alien boarding craft, launched in desperation from the dying Leviathan, streaked toward Earth. They crashed into cities like meteors, spilling alien soldiers into the streets. Towers crumbled, sirens wailed, and the war that began in orbit now raged on the ground. In New York, human soldiers clashed with alien marines in the ruins of Times Square. Gunfire echoed between shattered skyscrapers. Tanks rolled through flaming streets, blasting apart armored alien walkers. Civilians fought alongside soldiers, wielding rifles, knives, even Molotov cocktails. Humanity refused to yield. In Tokyo, swarms of alien drones descended, only to be met by human mechs rising from underground hangars. Steel giants with railguns for arms stomped through the streets, tearing apart the invaders in showers of sparks and fire. Across the globe, the aliens learned the same truth. Humans did not fight like others. They did not surrender. They did not run. They fought with everything, rage, cunning, and unbreakable will. On the Resolute, Hale watched the chaos unfold. His fleet was burning, Earth was burning, but humanity still stood. Bring us alongside the Leviathan, Hale ordered. The officers froze. Sir, if we get that close, we won't survive the debris. Hale's eyes blazed. If we don't, no one survives. The Resolute surged forward, engines straining, weaving through a storm of wreckage. Burning chunks of the Leviathan drifted like asteroids, tearing holes in anything they touched. Human escorts followed, forming a desperate spearhead. The Leviathan groaned like a dying god. Its weapons sputtered, but even crippled it tried to fire. Bolts of plasma screamed past the Resolute, missing by meters, scorching space into fire. Target their reactor core, Hale commanded. All batteries. Fire everything! The fleet obeyed. Railguns thundered. Missiles roared. Lasers burned through broken armor. Each hit drove deeper into the Leviathan's wound. Inside, the giant alien crew screamed as the walls collapsed around them. Fire tore through hangars. Explosions ripped across its spine. Finally, the core was exposed, a glowing heart of raw energy, unstable and screaming to detonate. Now, Hale whispered. The Resolute fired its last railgun slug. The round struck the core. For a heartbeat there was silence. Then the Leviathan erupted. The explosion lit up the heavens, brighter than dawn, brighter than any sun. The shockwave rolled across the planet, shaking cities and oceans. The giant's body broke apart, scattering into the void in a storm of fire and ash. The Leviathan was dead. On Earth, soldiers and civilians screamed in triumph. The invaders were cut down, their morale broken. Alien boarding parties surrendered or fled. Across the galaxy, the signal of the Leviathan's fall spread faster than light. Species long enslaved by the Council cheered. Whispers became shouts. The humans destroyed the Leviathan. The Council can bleed! On the Resolute, silence hung in the command deck. Half their fleet was gone. Millions were dead. Earth was scarred. But they had survived. General Hale looked out the viewport at the burning wreckage. His voice was steady, grim, but proud. Humanity lives. The crew whispered the words, then shouted them, a roar of defiance. Humanity lives? But as cheers rose on Earth and across the stars, far away, in the cold edges of the galaxy, a new signal blinked to life. In the darkness, fleets that did not belong to the Council stirred, silent, patient, watching, and one voice spoke from the shadows. So, humanity has awakened. The game begins. The Leviathan burned, but it did not die. The solar spear had torn a hole through its side, ripping metal the size of mountains into orbit. Yet the monster's engines roared back to life. Its body was broken, its armor shattered, but it still moved. The galaxy's most terrible weapon was not finished. On the Resolute, alarms screamed across the bridge. Officers shouted over one another as data poured in. It's losing control. Trajectory locked. It's falling toward Earth. Impact zone, North America. Every face went pale. The Leviathan was too massive to crash like a ship. If it struck the planet, it would tear Earth apart, scattering oceans into the sky and cracking continents in half. Humanity would be erased in fire. General Marcus Hale's voice cut through the panic like steel. Signal every ship, stop it. Push it away from Earth. The order went out. Human destroyers turned their engines to full burn, slamming their small bodies against the Leviathan's broken hull. Cruisers drove alongside it, firing thrusters to shift its fall. Fighters darted into gaps, blasting away chunks of flaming wreckage that threatened the planet below. One destroyer was crushed like paper. Another exploded when a broken beam sliced through its reactor. Still, the fleet fought on, bleeding engines, burning shields, desperate to slow the monster's descent. But the Leviathan kept falling. On Earth, the sky turned red as the burning giant pierced the atmosphere. Flames stretched across the heavens. Cities trembled as shockwaves rippled through the clouds. In the streets, millions stopped and stared upward, their faces lit by fire. Children clung to their parents. Soldiers tightened their grips on rifles. The world held its breath. And then the ground war began. Alien boarding craft, fired from the Leviathan's launch bays in its death throes, fell like meteors. They smashed into cities, splitting open to release swarms of alien marines. In New York, armored troopers marched through smoke, only to be met by human tanks rolling down ruined streets. Artillery roared, skyscrapers collapsed, and the city became a battlefield. In Paris, drones filled the skies, but French air wings rose to meet them, weaving through fire, blasting the invaders apart above the burning Eiffel Tower. In Tokyo, alien walkers crashed through districts, and from underground bunkers, human mechs climbed out, towering machines armed with railguns and plasma blades. Meeting the enemy in brutal, close combat everywhere, humanity fought back. Soldiers, civilians, resistance groups, even children carried weapons. The aliens expected surrender. Instead, they found fire and fury. Back in orbit, the Resolute tore through debris to reach the Leviathan's heart. "Bring us alongside," Hale ordered. An officer stammered, "Sir, at that range we won't survive the blasts." Hale's eyes hardened. "If we don't, Earth won't survive either." The Resolute pushed forward, shields sparking, armor ripping under falling wreckage. Escort ships followed, carving a path with their dying engines. Inside the Leviathan, the alien command struggled to keep control. Firestorms ripped through hangars, reactors shook violently, and crews screamed in panic. Admiral Serith, blood streaking down his face, refused to abandon ship. "We are not beaten," he roared. "Crush the humans with us." But humanity would not stop. "Target their reactor core," Hale commanded. "Or batteries. Fire everything." Railguns spat steel. Missiles streaked like arrows. Lasers cut through ruptured armor. The Leviathan groaned, shuddered, and split wider. Its glowing core pulsed, visible through torn metal. "Core exposed!" cried the weapons officer. "Now," Hale whispered. The Resolute fired its last shot. A railgun slug screamed through the void, straight into the Leviathan's heart. For one heartbeat, silence, then light. The Leviathan exploded in a firestorm brighter than the sun. Shockwaves tore through the atmosphere, rattling cities below. Burning wreckage rained across the sky like falling stars. On Earth, crowds screamed in triumph. Soldiers cheered through blood and ash. The invaders broke. Alien marines fled or surrendered as their godship died above the planet. Across the galaxy, signals carried the news. Slaves whispered, then shouted, "The Leviathan has fallen." The humans destroyed it. On the bridge of the Resolute, survivors watched the wreckage drift. Half their fleet was gone. Earth was scarred but still alive. General Hale stood tall, voice low but unshaken. "Humanity lives," the crew echoed him, first a whisper, then a roar. "Humanity lives?" But even as cheers filled the world, far beyond the Council's borders, deep in the cold dark, another signal awoke. It was older than the Council, stronger than the Leviathan. A fleet hidden in silence stirred for the first time in 1,000 years, and a voice, ancient and amused, whispered from the void. "So, humanity rises. Let the true war begin." The Leviathan was gone. Its shattered remains drifted through orbit, burning like falling stars across Earth's skies. Humanity had survived what no other species had dared to face. Across the planet, cheers erupted, soldiers embraced and civilians wept with relief. The impossible had been done, but in the silence of the Resolute's command deck, General Marcus Hale did not smile. He stared at the wreckage, jaw tight, eyes fixed on the void beyond, because he knew the war was not over. Dr. Evelyn Carter stood beside him, pale, exhausted, but steady. The solar spear worked. "The Council will never forget this day." Hale's voice was quiet. "No, they will never forgive it either." Across the galaxy, the shockwaves spread. Worlds enslaved by the Council erupted into rebellion. Entire systems rose up, chanting the same words. The humans fought back. The humans killed the Leviathan. Alien broadcasts filled with panic. Council fleets scrambled to regain control. Admirals screamed orders. Politicians argued in terror. The tribute command that once ruled with iron fear now trembled at the name of humanity. On Earth, the United Defense Assembly gathered. Leaders from every nation stood in the war chamber, their faces lit by holograms of burning stars and broken fleets. "We cannot wait for the Council to strike again," one said. "They will send more Leviathans," warned another. "They will erase us if they can," whispered a third. Hale silenced them with a single word. Enough. He stepped forward, his presence commanding the room. "They demanded our tribute. We gave them our answer. Now the galaxy knows. Humanity does not kneel." The chamber erupted in applause, but Hale's eyes remained hard. "This victory cost us millions. Half our fleet is gone. Cities burn. Families are broken. But we are not broken. We stand. And from this day on, we will not wait for enemies to come to us." Dr. Carter activated a new hologram. It showed massive shipyards orbiting Earth, construction platforms already working at full speed. Giant warships were rising, larger and stronger than any Earth had ever built. At their center was a new design, something that dwarfed even the Resolute. "The Titan Project," Carter explained. "Ships built with everything we learned from fighting the Leviathan, faster, deadlier, with weapons to pierce worlds." A silence filled the chamber, not of fear, but of awe. Humanity was no longer building defenses. Humanity was building vengeance. General Hale's voice carried across the hall. "The Council believes themselves gods. They believe fear is power. But today we proved their greatest weapon can fall, and tomorrow their empire will follow." On alien worlds, Council spies reported whispers spreading like fire. In the streets, species once beaten into silence now painted human symbols across walls. In shadows, resistance leaders raised their heads and dared to dream of freedom, but not everyone celebrated. In the far reaches of the galaxy, an ancient fleet stirred. They were not Council ships. Their hulls were black as night, their designs older than recorded history. They had watched quietly for millennia, waiting for a species reckless enough, fierce enough, to defy the order of the stars. Now they had found one. A signal echoed through the void, heard only by those meant to hear it. A whisper from something older than the Council, colder than war. Humanity has awakened. The game begins. Back on Earth, Hale looked out at the burning sky. The people celebrated below, singing, chanting, waving banners of victory. Yet he felt the weight of what was coming. Dr. Carter joined him, her voice soft but firm. Do you ever wonder if we can win against all of them? Hale did not look away from the stars. His answer was steady, carved from steel. We already have. She frowned, not understanding. How? Hale turned, his eyes blazing. Because we are human. And when humanity fights, we do not fight for tribute. We fight for tomorrow. The words spread across the channels, replayed on every screen, carried into every resistant cell across the galaxy. Humanity's defiance became legend. The Council had demanded obedience. The Leviathan had promised destruction. But Earth had answered with fire, and the galaxy would never be the same.